Hi, André.
Hello, Georgie.
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sure, it was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
Lochmarn? That's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived. Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much. Only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah. Not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. This friend who has the manuscript?
Oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
She lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, André.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochmarn tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes. It was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes, they gave a new word to our language. Assassini, the assassins.
Where was the site of Montfaucon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legends surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then, the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point. Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so. You're not one of those crazies who think the Templars still exist, are you?
Well, I try to keep an open mind on the matter. Do you recognize this white powder, Andre?
No.
Does the guy in this photograph look familiar to you?
No.
Take a look at this nose, Labino.
It really doesn't interest me, Georgie.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Nothing.
I'd like to shake you by the hand, Andre.
Not now, Georgie.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
Alamut is the name of the place where the Hashashin were based.
Where is it?
Somewhere in what used to be called Persia. I'm not too hot on modern geography, I'm afraid. The most recent map I have shows America as an English colony.
What do you make of this ID card?
Nothing.
Maybe not. Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Hi, Andre.
Hello, Georgie.
Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Pardon me.
Oui, monsieur?
Do you know anything about the Knights of the Temple?
No, sir. Not a sausage.
The sign on the tripod says it was found at a Templar preceptory.
It does?
Yeah. It doesn't mention John D. at all.
Most remiss.
You don't know anything about the tripod, do you?
No, I don't. I never had much of a start in life, you see. I owe what little education I gained to my uncle. He was an optician, but he also doubled as the village school teacher. He taught me the alphabet. Well, 19 letters of it. The bottom row of the chart was too small even for him to read, so he left them out.
Why don't you start over and enroll for adult education?
You know, I never thought of that. Do you think, if I studied hard and did all my homework, I could be a professor of history?
At your age? Dream on. Do you know anything about medieval manuscripts?
Not me, monsieur. I am no scholar, though people often mistake me for one. It is the uniform, I guess. They see the clothes. They are impressed.
And they ask you to park their cars?
They ask me to park No, no, no. They assume I am an authority on the exhibits in my care.
Whereas you know next to nothing about history.
Of course not. All I am saying is, I am no scholar, not like Monsieur Lobineau.
Can you give me any further information about the tripod?
Certainly, monsieur. It's infamous. That tripod, that belonged to John Dee.
What's the importance of John Dee's tripod?
Dee was the most famous escapologist of the 16th century. The Houdini of his time.
Don't you mean alchemist? Escapologists use ropes, chains, and handcuffs, not tripods.
But whatever he was, that is the tripod he used in his experiments.
What kind of experiments did John Dee perform with his tripod?
Oh, the usual. Didn't you study chemistry at school?
Yeah, but we skipped over thaumatology. Can I take a closer look at the tripod?
What? Get it out of the case? Ah, no! That tripod is protected by a sophisticated surveillance system.
How sophisticated?
A painfully loud alarm bell.
How is the alarm bell triggered?
By the slightest pressure on or movement of any part of the case wherein that tripod is situated.
It strikes me that to call your alarm system sophisticated is, well, stretching the truth a little.
It has never failed yet. The sophistication is in its simplicity.
Thanks for your help.
No, monsieur. No et no.
Okay. The case contained the tripod shown on the manuscript. The totem pole looked distinctly out of place in the setting of the museum.
No, monsieur.
Okay.
It is closing time, Monsieur Lobineau.
Already, there just aren't enough hours in the day.
More than enough for me. I can't wait to get home and put my feet up.
Eh bien, see you tomorrow.
Good night, monsieur.
Quit fooling around, you moron! Get your ass over here and bring that flashlight! What the... Who's there?
Let's get out of here!
And when I woke up, I was at the police station. Luckily, I managed to persuade Rosso I was innocent.
Poor Georges.
What a mess. I bungled the whole thing.
I don't think so. You made a pretty good job of distracting those two crooks.
Yeah, but the killer got away with the tripod.
No, he didn't. He's not the only one who can dress up in costume.
You mean it was you who stole the tripod? Oh, hell, Nico. I could have been shot.
Those dogs are more likely to shoot their own feet.
I just wish you'd told me your plans. We're supposed to be in this together. And how come you dressed up like a pantomime cat?
Don't sulk, Georgie, please.
Oh, rats. And don't call me Georgie.
Oh, I really thought you'd be pleased. After all, we've got the tripod.
Let's take another look at the manuscript. There's a woman looking at her reflection in a mirror, but the reflection has 3 hideous faces.
Look there, 2 guys on the same horse.
There's a guy with a sword and a bull. Between them is a gem supported by a tripod. There's a guy working on a loom.
Look there, 2 guys on the same horse. Oh, by the way, I had a visit from André Lobineau.
Oh, yeah. I hope you didn't mind me giving him your address.
Not at all. It was lovely to see him again. He was over the moon when I showed him the manuscript. It's not often he gets that excited. He made a sketch of the knight's crest to take back to the museum. I believe he's identified the family who bear that crest.
I sure hope so. I'd better get back to the quest. I once read a list of low-stress jobs. It didn't include police work. Obviously, this guy hadn't read the same list. Excuse me, officer. What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers. Only that they were excommunicated in 1312 and hanged in their dozens within this very square.
Boy, what they teach in the police academy these days.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
Shouldn't you be off directing traffic or something?
You have seen the Parisian traffic, no?
Yeah, so?
I could direct the traffic. The most dangerous, the east side of Rome. Or I can sit here and enjoy the sun, the architecture, and the Sauvignon. Which would you choose?
Yeah, but I'm not a policeman. What happened to duty?
An excellent question, monsieur.
Would you like to shake? I stopped myself barely in time. Electrocuting a cop would not have been smart. They'd rebuild the Bastille just so they could throw me in and throw away the key. Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
The pattern looks Middle Eastern.
Have you seen this man before?
No. Who is it?
I believe him to be an international assassin.
Oh.
Is that all you can say? Oh.
I did wonder if I should say that I believe you to be an international paranoiac, but it didn't seem polite.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
There was a small crowd of 5 sightseers. It's a weird thing, but you can take the most intelligent people in the world, put them in their vacation duds, and hey presto, they look like morons. Why is that? Hello again.
Hello again, monsieur.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
Aha! A prosthetic nose. Very significant.
It is?
No, I am just having a little joke.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
I had no desire to talk to the crowd. The juggler was good. Why he couldn't put that kind of application into getting a real job, I had no idea. Maybe he just liked dressing up like a horse's ass. Hey, you with the balls.
Oui?
How did you learn to be a juggler?
Juggler? What is this juggler?
It's you. You juggle, that makes you a juggler.
No! I am a jongleur!
A jongler? What's that?
Mon Dieu! A jongleur is an artist, a master of the contragravitic aeroballetic mysteries. In centuries past, the courts of the crowned heads of Europe had the jongleurs, witty, erudite men to whom the monarchs turned in their hours of need.
Wait a minute, wait. Let me get this straight. Our enemies are at the borders, plague ravages the land, and the peasants are revolting. Thank God we've got Chuckles the Jongler to throw his balls around. I don't think so. That juggling doesn't look so difficult.
Oh, it does not, does it not? Perhaps you feel you could do better, no?
I'll give it a try.
Be my guest.
I had no idea what I was doing. But this guy was obviously an idiot, so how difficult could it be? A lot more difficult than I thought. That's how difficult. Still, it was my big chance to be derided by complete strangers.
Not so easy after all, is it?
No, I guess not. Hi again.
Oui? What is it this time?
Look, a red nose.
Ah, you are a clown.
A clown?
No, if so, you would be a much better jongleur.
For a moment, an idea capered around near the spotlight of my attention, but fell down the pothole of abstraction before I could focus on it. What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Le Templier? Ah, the last Grand Master, Jacques du Molay, was burnt on an island in the Seine in 1314.
Wow, you're pretty well educated for a juggler.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
It didn't seem right to fry somebody's palm when they make their living with their hands. Have you seen this man before?
No.
I've got a medieval tripod.
And my Uncle Claude has hemorrhoids. So what?
Feast your eyes on this.
Incroyable. Is it real?
I think so.
Some people believe that great gems always have curses upon them.
Oh, that's garbage. Although, now that I think about it, both of the people who had this before me disappeared in mysterious circumstances. And the guy who was supposed to get this was shot and then murdered in his hospital bed. Do you want it?
No, thank you.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
You smoke.
No, I don't.
In that case, it means nothing to me.
Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
In the middle of the square was a manhole. I wondered if there might be something relevant beneath street level. I couldn't open it with my bare hands.
Hey, hey you! What do you think you are doing? Leave that cover alone. Now,
Sorry, no harm intended.
you stay away from that.
A row of old pews, beautifully carved and glowing with polish. I thought of all the people who must have sat here over the decades. All those Parisian derrieres, firm buttocks of the young ladies, the flabby flesh of the old men. That wasn't a pleasing image, so I went back to the young ladies. Whoa! I didn't have time to sit around. Excuse me, Father.
Pardon?
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Not at all, monsieur. It will be my pleasure to help you.
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
You have come to the right place, if that is your interest. Many of them were executed in the square outside. It was a disgrace to France.
Well, the Pope was right behind it, though.
Clement V was a man of mammon, not of God.
That's kind of forthright for a priest, isn't it?
You think so? It is hard to be sure what happened. It is so long ago.
How long have you worked here?
Hardly work, monsieur. This is a calling. I have been helping Father Flambert for nearly 6 months now.
I guess you don't know much about the history of this church, then.
Just a little.
You've got quite a shine on that candlestick.
Ah oui. Anything less than best would be an insult to the Almighty.
I guess so. I never thought of it like that. How about this for a gem?
It is very beautiful, monsieur. And yet, I feel that there is an air of suffering about it.
I thought about using the shake and shock on him, but I couldn't do that to a priest. Have you seen this man before?
No, I have never seen him before.
No. I've got a medieval tripod.
Monsieur, you are a walking treasure house.
Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
A statue of a knight holding a staff and a scroll. The statue had any secrets. It was concealing them pretty well. On the end of the staff was some kind of disc with a cross on it. Around the base of the disc was a hairline crack. Somehow it looked more modern than its neighbor. A stone knight lay in full stone armor, blank eyes looking at the ceiling. Carrying all that armor around must have been hard work. A stone knight lay at the end of a row of 4. I wondered if this guy had died in combat. Well, I could have just taken the end off the staff, but I wanted to be sure what I'd be getting out of vandalizing a church, other than deported. A scroll was a symbol of scholarship. I knew that much. A scholarly knight. That rang a bell. A very Spanish bell. In comparison to its neighbor, it looked pretty plain. I didn't recognize the biblical story in it. I was a Sunday school dropout. Hello again, Father.
Bonjour, monsieur. How pleasant to speak to you again.
I noticed that the stained glass window on the left looks more modern than the middle one.
You have a keen eye, monsieur. The original window was destroyed in the last war. It was as old as the church, early 14th century.
Oh, man, that's awful.
Oui, a terrible loss. Still, the church and the other windows survived.
I've got a red nose.
Oui, so you have.
Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Hi again.
Oui? What is it this time?
Does this plaster interest you?
Well,
Forget it. Forget that I asked. Does this lab pass mean anything to you?
you work in a lab.
No, try again.
You steal lab passes?
No. Well, not as a habit. This was a special case. Does this grease paint mean anything to you?
A red nose? And now grease paint? You are sure you are not a clown?
Well, I was distracted by the idea again. Caper, caper, caper. Plummet. No. Gone again. What do you think of this?
It is a medical device, oui?
This gadget is a sewer key.
I do not want it, thank you.
Well, I'm not selling it. I just wanted your opinion.
It is hardly my area of expertise.
Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Hello again.
Hello again, monsieur.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
Ah, you are a clown.
Do I look like a clown?
No, although you juggle like one. Now, if I'd known you were a clown, it would have been amusing. And not a humiliation for you.
What do you mean?
Whoever heard of a plainclothes clown?
He had a point. So you're saying that if I juggle badly with a red nose, I'd be the king of comedy. But if I juggle badly without it...
You look like a pathetic loon. Oui, monsieur, you have it.
What do you know about medieval ironmongery? Have a look at this little baby.
A tripod. What is it for?
You mean you don't know?
No, monsieur. Nor do you, I think.
What do you make of this grease paint stained tissue?
Delightful. Would you like to see some of my used tissues?
Hell no.
Then please put yours away.
Do you know what this is?
Aha! You Americans with your notorious nose candy. I read Hollywood Wives. I know all about it.
If you tried to sniff this stuff, you'd wall up your nostrils. It's plaster of Paris.
It is. Thank heaven. For one awful moment, I thought I might actually have to arrest somebody. Alors, the paperwork. You have no idea.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
Hi again.
Oui? What is it this time?
I'd like to have another try at juggling, please.
You have gone on a crash course, perhaps?
No. I just had an insight into presentation.
Huh?
Allow me to demonstrate. The balls, please.
If you insist on completing your humiliation, monsieur.
Okay, now for my secret weapon. The juggler was speechless with rage. You could have mistaken him for a mime. And without a word, he collected his balls and left in a fury. Hey! You forgot one of your balls! Hey! But he didn't hear. Better still, deprived of his entertainment, the gendarme decided maybe he ought to do some policing for a change.
The hook lay in a bed of chain. My medieval French isn't much, but the few words I understood seemed to say, "This is where the gallows used to stand." Maybe. The inscription was hard to read, but I made out Templiers and something about innocence. The wall had flaked, and anything once written on it had long since gone. The wall seemed in very poor condition. The inscription was undecipherable. The plaster had cracked and was falling away. I wondered why. It was time for some brutal destruction. Hey! That's hollow! I'd poked a hole in an historical site. If any archaeologists came by, they'd lynch me for this. There was some sort of mechanism hidden inside the wall, with a lever in the middle of it. Close up, I could see the plaster was thinner where I'd broken through, and behind it were some cogs and a lever. Here goes. The secret door had jammed. I couldn't get through that gap.
In the beginning was the end.
An end wrought by our enemies began our darkness.
In the end will be a beginning.
An end to our enemies heralds our new day.
Report. The military establishments are in flux. The end of the Cold War has left them with no clear goal and as obvious targets for budgetary cuts. We have successfully promoted a sense of betrayal in the upper echelons. They feel that the politicians have cast them adrift. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Good. Mademoiselle?
Governments are giving the corporations more respect than their own citizens. A groundswell of dissatisfaction and dissidence is growing. The corporations are becoming too large and complex for their own executives to control them. A blind belief in market forces is accelerating this trend the world over. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
The global population's belief in those that govern it has never been lower. We have inculcated a sense of immediacy and action over forethought and planning in all the major governments. They are acting on hasty decisions that cannot be completed or revoked without appearing foolish. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Excellent. The tired old governments are dying a slow death from their own incompetence and our machinations. Professor, where is the broken sword?
As we discussed last time, with the loss of the manuscript, our search is as a corollary hindered.
And as discussed last time, you have been furnished with a dramatically increased budget. What have you been doing with our money, Professor?
We are working on the principle that the Templars, that is to say our predecessors,
Hold on. These are the Templars?
must have left a trail when they were hiding the clues to the sword of Baphomet's location. I have a small army of historians and archaeologists ferreting out that trail.
I trust these historians and archaeologists are more trustworthy than your friend Pegram.
Pegram was loyal. He tried to protect the Lochmarn gem when the Hashashin came near.
And failed. And don't call that Syrian maniac the Hashashin. He's an assassin. Plain and simple.
That's not what he believes. He actually thinks.
Silence! Do I have to remind you that we have a sacred duty? A trust? When Philippe attempted to destroy the Order, we lost the sword and our power with it. Now we have the opportunity to reforge it. But time is short. We need results. Not petty bickering. Not excuses. Now, Professor Baphomet.
Yes, of course, my apologies. We will find Baphomet and the sword, manuscript or no. We have already found another element actually within Paris.
Excellent. What is it?
Well, we're not exactly sure at present.
Ha!
But I have my best people working on it. You would do well not to criticize others, Eklund. At least I have not murdered one of our own.
Of course. That guy was the bogus doctor in the hospital.
Marquet was a liability. Eklund dealt with him on my orders.
I beg your pardon, Grandmaster. I did not mean to.
Have you any good news for us, Professor?
We already know 3 of the elements. We know that Klausner had obtained the lens before he vanished.
Where was he?
Syria. We know that he arrived, but after that, nothing.
The assassin.
I fear so. It's a shame. Klausner was a good operative.
This will be our last meeting in person until we locate the sword of Baphomet. I hope that I don't need to emphasize the importance of finding it. Without it, our endeavors come to nothing. With the sword reforged, we will have the power to sweep the stage of all opposition. The next time that we meet, it will be to become the princess of this world!
Wow. There was a crack in the wall. Through it, I could see a glimmer of natural light. There was a large circle marked out on the floor with a stump in the middle. Around the circle I could see words inlaid into the stone. On the circle's circumference were the Templar seal and 2 Latin phrases, Non omnis moriar and Clarior e tenebris. I shall not die completely, the brighter from the darkness. I noticed 3 small notches around the edge of the stump's top. In the middle of the circle was a stump of stone, a shaft of daylight from the world above lancing down to touch it. The tripod's feet fitted neatly into the notches on the top of the stump. The light falling from above struck the gem and scattered in 5 neat rays, and each ray picked out a letter. Starting from the left, I could read M-A-R-I-B, Marib. Now all I had to do was figure out what the heck that meant. Nico, I've seen them.
Who?
The Templars. I spied on their meeting in the catacombs.
And you saw the Knights Templar?
I saw a bunch of guys masquerading as Templars. They're after something called the Sword of Baphomet. The bogus doctor was there, the guy who killed Marquet. The manuscript is the key, just as we thought. It shows the way to the broken sword, whatever that is.
And how does the assassin fit into all this?
He's out to stop them. These Neo-Templars, they're men and women in influential positions. Don't you see? Plantar was one of them. The assassin killed him for the manuscript, to stop them finding the sword.
But now we have got the manuscript.
Yes.
So, how do they hope to find the sword?
I don't know. They said something about a lens and a guy called Klausner who's gone to Syria, but they didn't seem to realize the significance of the very site of their meeting. You see, after they'd gone, I discovered a stone pedestal and a carved inscription. I set up the gem on the tripod, directly below a beam of light. The gem split the beam and lit the letters M-A-R-I-B.
Marib is a village in Syria.
Then the Neo-Templars are ahead of us. Klausner beat me to it.
You're not thinking of going there yourself, are you?
Why not?
These guys are crazy and dangerous. That reminds me, you should leave the gem here.
Okay. What about the tripod?
I'll send it back to André, anonymously.
Let's take another look at the manuscript.
Look there.
The night through there, but there between there's a guy working on a loom. Do you think I should go to Marib?
Syria is a long way, Georges.
The stand was being watched by a young boy, maybe 12 years old. Hey there, young fella. Speaky you the English? Speaker you the Anglaise? Parlez-vous anglais?
Yes, si, and indeed oui, and rather better than you by the sound of it. My name is Nicho. Welcome to my grand emporium of quality merchandise.
So, this is your stand?
Oh, yes, sir. Though stand does not begin to do it justice. The finest in this bustling metropolis.
This is a bustling metropolis?
Well, not per se, no.
How much are those books there on the shelf?
Have you any Syrian pounds?
I think I might have a couple of Irish pund.
Then they're too expensive for you, sir.
You speak very good English.
Thank you, sir. I learned from tapes that my uncle procured.
Oh, a language course.
No, sir. Jeeves and Wooster. Cassie, Fink, Noto, Aunt Agatha. What ho?
Does the word Templar mean anything to you?
Templar. Ah, Templar. Templar! Why, yes, of course.
It does?
Yes. A splendid series of books by Mr. Leslie Chatteris, featuring the roguish Mr. Simon Templar.
Great. That's a real help, Nijo. Anything else?
The Saint television program, featuring Mr. Roger Moore of the quizzical eyebrow, and a stick man with a halo. Bing!
So all Templar means to you is Roger Moore.
I only watched it for the stick man with the halo. Bing! He was better animated.
So I'm correct in saying that the word Templar doesn't mean much to you.
Well, there was the Order of Knights who were wiped out in an Inquisition in 1312, I suppose.
That's them. What else do you know?
Just how much information do you think there is on a Trivial Pursuit card?
A what?
From the medieval edition. We had it on the stand a couple of years ago. Ask me what a feuter is. Go on, I know all this stuff.
Never mind. Okay, forget about the Templars for a minute. What do you know about knights?
Like the Crusaders, they came to the East on an insane and pointless mission. They sacrificed thousands of lives, including their own, for insensate pride. How anyone can find them romantic confounds me.
Have you seen this man before?
No, sir, I'm glad to say. Cold eyes.
Here, shake hands, Nijo.
I'd rather not, sir.
What do you make of this?
Well, beyond the obvious, very little. That pattern seems very familiar, though.
What do you think of this, eh?
Oh, sir, what a splendid plaything. One day, when I am rich, I am going to build a world-renowned collection of brightly colored balls.
Are you serious?
In deadly earnest. People will come from far and wide to see my
Yes?
collection. The Rockefellers and the Gettys can keep their hordes of so-called fine art. But answer me this. What good is a Picasso, I ask you, if you cannot bounce it off a wall?
You may have a point. Seriously, do you really think this thing's so great?
Take it away, you tempter.
I'll swap it for something off your stand.
Due to seasonal financial considerations, I'm afraid I cannot.
I thought you wanted this thing.
I do, sir. The stand doesn't.
Which in translation meant it's not really my stand, and I'll be in big trouble if I swap anything for something that I want myself.
Alternatively, is there any service that you require?
Not at the moment, but I'll bear it in mind. What can I do with a blood pressure gauge?
Don't tempt me to tell you, sir.
What do you make of this?
A man-sized double-ply tissue stained with Bestheimer's number 12 white pancake grease paint, apparently.
This plaster was very useful in Ireland.
Really? Your fund of traveller's tales never ceases to enthrall me.
So long, Nijo.
Toodle pip, sir.
The cat was an ugly brute who looked like he owned the joint. As I didn't see the point of going all the way over there to get scratched, I stayed where I was.
I hadn't come all this way to seek out curios. There were some great bargains on the shelf, providing you ran a junk museum. It was the sort of bell you see in hotel receptions. Kind of unexpected here. Ah, bad-tempered as well as ugly. Hi, Nijo.
Hello again, sir. And how may I help you this time?
Is that your father lurking in the back of the stand?
He is indeed a roaring fellow. Ayub's his name.
You don't sound like you respect him very much.
Don't I? Not only do I respect him, I rather like him. For all his bluster, we get on very well.
That's not a very friendly cat you got there, Nijo.
No, sir. It is a very unfriendly cat.
Why do you keep it?
Oh, it's not mine. It just rests where it pleases. And today it pleases to rest there. As Kipling would say, it is a cat that walks by itself.
Fiercely independent.
And it smells.
Seriously, do you really think this thing's so great?
Take it away, you tempter.
So long, Nijo.
Toodle pip, sir.
Hi, I was wondering whether you could help me.
Why, sure, son. Always got time for a fellow American. The name's Henderson. Dwayne Henderson.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Henderson.
Hell, boy, I'm not in the office. Call me Dwayne.
Oh, okay. Dwayne? My name's George Stobart. I saw a medieval picture of a woman. Royalty or nobility, something like that. She was looking in a mirror, but the reflection was of a man with 3 faces. What do you think of that?
I think you should be in therapy.
Do you think bulls have any significance around here?
Weird question, George. Nope, I don't think they have.
Do you mind if I ask you an odd question?
Okay, but I might not answer it.
Do you know anything about the Templars?
The Knights Templar?
Yep.
Nope. Nothing at all.
Well, you knew they were an order of knights.
What I know and what I say are 2 different things, boy. I haven't lasted as long as I have in this business without knowing that.
In this business?
Sure. The greetings card business.
Oh, please. Does the image of a knight holding a crystal ball mean anything to you?
Hell no. What would a knight want with a hunk of glass?
I don't know. That's the problem.
What's wrong, boy?
It's not a crystal ball. It all came together in my head. What the conspirators had mentioned losing. The strange perspective of the manuscript. It's a lens. Have you talked to Nijo?
Nijo? He's the youngster on that junk stand, right? Yeah, we've met him. He's a smart kid. Speaks 4 languages, and he's never had a day's formal education. He should go far. Kept trying to peddle garbage on us, though.
You're not going to find much worthwhile around here.
I know that, and you know that. But try telling Pearl. She reckons there's antiquities in them there stands.
You're a long way from home, Dwayne.
Could say the same about you, George.
Me? Well, I'm just sightseeing, that's all.
Without a camera? Kinda lags to come all this way and not take pictures. Mind if I take a picture of you, George?
What? Why? Ow! You could have warned me.
You don't mind, do you, George? The folks back home will be real interested.
Where is your wife, Dwayne?
Pearl? Oh, she's around, looking for bargains.
How long have you been married, Dwayne?
Hell, must be 30 years now.
What exactly do you do, Dwayne?
Didn't I say? Oh, I run a greeting card company. Yep, we're based in Cleveland, Ohio. Pearl writes the poems for him. You ought to ask her to recite some.
Shake hands, Dwayne.
Why?
I'm just being friendly.
Let's just be friendly by keeping our hands to ourselves. Yeah?
Have you seen this man before?
Maybe. Where'd you get it?
I just picked it up somewhere.
Sure. I'm always picking up photos of complete strangers and then asking around.
Ow! Damn it!
There. I've got another picture of a complete stranger. Maybe I'll ask around about this one.
What do you think of this?
It's a ball. Big deal.
Look, I've got some plaster of Paris.
Yeah, and I've got a picture of me shaking hands with George Bush. Of course, that was back in '76.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
What do you think of this grease paint stained tissue?
You've been hanging around with actors?
Okay, well, I'll see you around, Dwayne.
Count on it, George.